Welcome to Leading at a Higher Level Nantucket. Today we're joined by Dorothy Savarese, who is Chairman, President, and CEO of our local bank, Cape Cod 5. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mark.
So glad you're on it.
Here.
So just to give some context for people, you also served the former chairman of the Bankers Association nationally and for Massachusetts.
That's right.
So that must have been a good experience as well.
It was a great experience to know there's so many community banks across the country trying to do good in their communities as well.
That's a big challenge, I'm sure, these days.
Yes.
So a little context for our listeners and our viewers. Cape Cod 5 has 19 locations. You're working on a brand new operations center in Hyannis, 80,000 square foot.
Yeah.
That's exciting. And you're roughly just south of $7 billion in assets.
Well, when you add all of our off-balance sheet, yes.
Yeah.
On balance sheet, we're about 3.5, but you take in all of our serviced assets, $7 billion.
That's great. Well, you have a big presence here on Nantucket, so I just have to ask, what is the bank's Nantucket story?
Well, we're so delighted to be here on Nantucket. It's such a wonderful community. And you know, for years we were lending here, both residentially and commercially. And there were a lot of customers who came over and did business with our Hyannis branch, sometimes because they didn't want their neighbors seeing them doing their banking business. They liked the privacy. But after the financial crisis, the financial landscape really changed. And we got a lot of inquiries about people who said they would like a community bank that would become more involved in the Nantucket community. So we opened up a loan production office here with furniture I borrowed from some offices around the bank. And it was such a success that we quickly, in 2011, opened our mini branch on West Road. And then we opened Zero Main in 2012 and Pleasant Street in 2013. So we have the two branches now, and our the receptivity and the growth of our business in all areas has been so wonderful because we've been able to serve so many local residents and so many local businesses and really get to know the community. Our branch and our team is filled with Nantucket residents. Actually, the fellow who was running the Hyannis branch and helped open over here moved over here. He loved it so much. And we still have people flying over helping out, but it's very much a local operation.
So you are definitely on growth mode, and Nantucket's obviously a part of that picture, but with 19 locations and you're growing, it's a wonderful story. How do you set the vision for the bank?
Well, that's a great question, and we work on it all the time. You know, for us, our mission is very clear. It's enriching lives. And then the question gets to be, well, what does that picture look like if you're successful at that? So, well, what we say is, all right, our vision is that we are the employer of choice. We are where people want to work and enjoy a career. We are the trusted financial advisor of choice. We're the corporate citizen that actually makes a difference in the communities that we serve. And then finally, of course, we're an institution that maintains its financial strength in order to complete its mission. But one thing, and I think you know this about us, we're a very values-driven bank. And the values are on the website. They're in front of us all the time. It's fairness and mutual respect and commitment to the highest ethical standards and trustworthiness. But any vision and any mission has to evolve over time. And so one of the things that we've been doing is evaluating our values and the picture of success and said, how does this evolve to meet our changing customers' needs? So one thing we recognized is we also share a commitment to working collaboratively. We have a sense of urgency and accountability about providing an exquisite customer experience. And we work all the time with our employees to seek their input on changing our vision and our mission. And they're the ones who have said to us, these are really important values. We should be incorporating those in our values. And then when we look out at the changing world and our changing customers and technology, we also know that we need to evolve to embrace change and embrace innovation. And so those are some of the elements that we're continuing to work on.
Well, it sounds like the bank really embraces the quadruple bottom line because you just laid that out very eloquently. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And that, as you know, that's the bedrock of leading at a higher level organizations that are operating with a quadruple bottom line. And I also love that you have a very clear, simple vision, tough to deploy, but easy to remember. So I would imagine your employees can articulate the vision and the values quite well because you have a clear vision and you have 4 values.
Yes,
Right?
thank you. And yet again, as we all know, those values are so core, and the issue is how do we carry them out? And how do we imbue them in our culture? So one of the things that we've been working on, and again, that quadruple bottom line, you're so right, is so important, is how do we think through, how do we positively impact our employees, our customers, our communities, and maintain our strength? We have engaged the Pacific Institute, which is a firm that assists with culture. They did an assessment of our culture, and they said, you have a great culture.
That's great.
And we want to make it greater. So we're working on that right now. And part of that is this idea of maybe we need to articulate that sense of urgency. Maybe we need to say it out loud and keep it in front of us, and that embrace of change.
So with all that, how do you take that and then create a motivated workforce all the time? Because you're in a tough business, customer service oriented, you're dealing with people's money, their mortgages, you know, it's important stuff. How do you,
and
how
their
do you do
lives,
it? Yeah,
right?
that's right.
The assistance we give them can actually meaningfully affect their lives in a positive way or a negative way if we're not honoring our obligation to them. So we say the creation of a motivated workforce is our number one priority because we can't serve the customers if we don't have that, right? So how do you do that? Well, you know, we try to boil it down by saying we provide meaningful work and growth opportunities that are connected. They're connected to mission. They're connected to senior leadership. They're connected to their peers, and they're connected to the customers and the community. And if you can get that sense of higher purpose where they understand the impact that they have on a day-to-day basis and that we want to help them grow so that they can expand that, then they can stay motivated, they can self-motivate, and they can motivate each other. Now, of course, you know, we try very hard to have a fair and collaborative environment. And one of the things that we hear from them is our community commitment is very important to them. So we've introduced paid time off to volunteer, and we're constantly letting them know about opportunities to volunteer in the community. And they know we've given out over $1.3 million in the last several years for charity, for nonprofit organizations, for community events. So we introduced a matching donation program so that they could choose where money is going. And they could say, I'm going to make a donation here. I want you to match that.
That's great.
Yeah.
People really embrace that, don't they?
They're
They
so
want to
excited.
do good.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, this is Mark Forsyth, and today we're joined by Dorothy Savarese, who's the chairman and CEO of Cape Cod 5. And we're talking about your motivated workforce. So boil that down for us too. Like, why would someone join? Why would someone want to work at Cape Cod 5? Because everything you just said, that's so important, but they find that out probably as part of your recruitment strategy, but they also probably find that obviously when they work there. But give me some examples. Like, why would I join Cape Cod 5?
We ask them that because, of course, and you know, as I said, we survey our employees so much we're afraid they're getting survey fatigue because we always want to know, well, what got them here?
Yeah.
The number one thing they say is our reputation. So one of the things is, for example, in 2018, Cape Cod 5 was selected as one of Boston Globe's top places to work. And in 2018, American Banker added us to the list of the top banks to work for, the best banks to work for in the United States.
Wow.
So that helped. Thank you.
Sure does.
We were excited about that. And that was because they surveyed our employees on an anonymous basis. And that's how we ended up with those honors. But informally, people see our engagement in the community. They hear through their peers what kind of a culture we have. And they're very drawn by that. And sometimes they identify with the leadership that they see in the community and or peers that they know that are working for the organization. So every one of your employees is a salesperson for coming to work for the organization, right?
True.
Yeah.
Ambassador.
Yes, exactly.
Right? That
Yeah.
net promoter score is quite important.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
Sounds
they need to live it to feel that there are opportunities to develop and grow, or they're not going to communicate that to others.
Do you feel like the bank is getting a negative impact for this war for talent, or do you feel like the talent pool here on Nantucket and also on the Cape is adequate enough for you to fulfill your positions?
Well, it's a great question right now with the unemployment rate being so low. And, folks have trouble sometimes in the Cape and Islands in southeastern Massachusetts just because of the remote nature of it.
Right.
And so it's not as large of a pool as it may be in some of the metropolitan areas. On the other hand, it offers a quality of life that is second to none. So the wonderful thing is for us, because of the reputation that we have, we are able to attract a lot of talent. In fact, we introduced an intern program several years ago that's been written about in the Wall Street Journal and in American Banker. And we had a little under 50 positions open. We had 250 people apply for the program.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah. That's a good sign.
We think so.
Yeah, well, it sounds like the employer brand is quite strong in the market.
We have a wonderful team.
Yeah.
And that means all of our 500 plus employees.
Right,
yeah.
Right. Well, this is Mark Forsyth, and you're watching Leading at a Higher Level in Nantucket. And today we're joined by Dorothy Savarese, who's President, Chairman, and CEO of Cape Cod 5 Bank. Great.
Leading at a Higher Level Nantucket is brought to you by the Ken Blanchard Companies and FT Press, an imprint of the world's learning company, Pearson, whose mission is helping people make progress in their lives through learning. The new third edition of Ken Blanchard's Leading at a Higher Level is available at informate.com/Nantucket.
This is Leading at a Higher Level in Nantucket, and today we're joined by Dorothy Savarese, the Chairman and President of Cape Cod 5. So we just had a wonderful conversation about how great the bank creates a motivated workforce, which is really quite a challenge these days. So another key pillar of the quadruple bottom line is how does Cape Cod 5 treat their customers? And how do you manifest an outstanding kind of service provider culture at the bank?
Well, because we try to keep everything simple, we boil it down to one thing, and that is one bank for one customer. And what we mean by that is you as the customer don't have to think about how to navigate through articulating your needs to many people and things, that we want to be able to do all the heavy lifting for you, that we want to understand what your needs are and meet them. And then it also means on the other side that we work collaboratively as a team to be able to meet those needs. We have the central focus of our entire organization is on our customers, so much so that we have an overarching strategic committee called the Customer Product Service and Process Committee. And we look at everything we do from all the way from the back office to the front office to make sure that we're eliminating any points of friction for the customer, that we're giving them what they need, that we're listening to what they want, and that we're adapting in order to do that. And this committee involves people from all over the organization, from all levels. And so folks on the front line are able to input, and we're able to digest that information and prioritize appropriately. And one of the things that we do, I've mentioned the fact that we have a wonderful mechanism we call the loop report, meaning close the loop. And that is, I have a thought or an idea, or I heard something from a customer and it was a complaint or it was a compliment and I want to pass it along. It's very easy for them. There's a drop-down menu, they can put it in there, and we actually have a management team looking at all of the input from all of our customer-facing employees and employees across the organization. So when they have a good idea, we want to implement that idea. if we find out there's a problem in terms of what we're doing for the customers, we want to focus on that right away. So it's always top of mind for us.
Is it difficult because you're a community bank, very strong one, and you have the kind of regional, national banks, and there's certain expectation around things like innovation. Is it difficult to kind of compete with that expectation? Do you know what I mean? If
I understand what you're asking, and it's a great question. Now, as former chair of the American Bankers Association, I have to say, America has benefited by having a large and diverse banking or industry,
Thank
right?
God, right?
Yeah, which is very good. And then, as CEO of Cape Cod 5, I have to say, of course we can, compete with that, because one of the things that we can be is nimble. And we can do things, if you're an $85 billion organization or a $100 billion organization, you can't move as quickly as we can.
Right.
So when we hear something from a customer, we don't even have to invent something to get it done. We can have people in the back office do it, and it will happen automatically and look very seamless and the same, even though there might not be the technological magic right away under there while we're developing it. So that's the wonderful thing. Now, I will tell you, we've invested in a company that's assisting our institution in technology and others in terms of cloud and leveraging that. We are on pretty much the leading edge when it comes to the deployment of a number of different technologies. I have individuals who serve on that work for us on national boards in terms of payment innovation. So we're not, sleepy, hometown bank that isn't paying attention to this. We are passionate about moving ahead. And our vision is a seamless ecosystem, digital ecosystem that serves our customers, that again is frictionless and serves all of their needs. And we are organized to be able to pursue that and focus on that. So again, I think our scale gives us big enough to be able to do it, small enough to be nimble.
That makes a lot of sense. So now thinking about your new operations center, so I totally get it. So you want to be nimble, you want to be aligned, you want to be collaborative. So is that, obviously there's a bunch of reasons why you're building that.
Exactly.
But it sounds like it's really for the customer.
That's right. It is a platform to serve our customers and to serve the people serving our customers. And by having it be open and agile where people can work cross-functionally, we can bring things to market and address issues quickly, and we can all work together without barriers or big departments in different cities and things like that. So we're so excited. I toured it last night, and it's even better than all the planning we've been doing on it. It's just going to be great. Yeah.
That is exciting.
Yeah.
I also read in the paper that your former operations center, you're working with the community to make affordable housing, convert it to affordable housing. I think that's a wonderful example of the quadruple bottom line.
Yes, we're so excited about that. It is our hope that that will be successful and that the town of Orleans will be able to do that.
Yeah.
And so we have opened it to them in terms of all the due diligence. We have said to other potential purchasers, we don't want to talk to them until the town of Orleans gets an opportunity to see if this is viable. And it's looking very encouraging.
That's great.
Yeah.
As you know, it's a hot topic here and now.
Absolutely.
As is almost everywhere these days. So shifting to, so you have this new operations center coming online. So it's going to kind of recreate your culture. So how would you describe the leadership culture at Cape Cod 5? Kind of like now, but also like what do you want to move it towards with this new shift that you're taking on?
Yeah, so that's a great question. What's the same and what will change? So at heart, we are servant leaders. And I am privileged to work with a management team that takes that so seriously. And actually, one of my colleagues said, you don't have to say that to us every single day. But every once in a while, I just feel compelled to say that to them. They are people who are there to serve the mission, including empowering all of our employees with the tools and the training and the information that they need to be able to accomplish mission. They're caring and they're dedicated and they're collaborative and they walk the walk of our values. So none of that will change. They will adhere to that. At the same time, we are all moving toward this leaning forward embracing innovation, embracing change. This will be
Yeah.
a big change for us. I don't even have an office in the new building. So it will be an exciting,
Really?
yeah,
So you'll be walking
open.
around.
Yes,
And, yeah.
yes. And so I
Yeah.
have to learn to keep my voice a little quieter.
Yeah, that's great. That's
but
very
it's just gonna-
innovative as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we're modeling through all of this
Yeah.
that the senior leaders are walking the walk on this too.
Well, it's very difficult for leaders because they're so driven these days and so competitive, but yet to be a servant leader, you need to be called. And I think by you not having an office in your new headquarters, you are a called leader because you're going to be on the floor serving your people.
Yes.
That's a wonderful example. I love
Yeah.
that.
We are all called to
Yeah.
service. Yeah.
That is great. So let's shift to you. I know you don't like to talk about that, but some key people in your life that helped shape you as a leader.
You know, I've been the most blessed person in the world. My parents created a culture of service in our very large family. And they always said, to whom much is given, much is expected. Now, we didn't have much, but we were still expected to give as much as we possibly could of your talent. So that has been a theme for my entire family. My family and my siblings are very influential in my life. Clearly, family, friends, colleagues, because I believe you can learn from everybody. I have customers that have just been some of the most meaningful teachers in my life, authors like Ken Blanchard, and Dorothy Savarese, who he quoted,
Right.
and who has
right.
been a key thing for me, consultants that we've brought in. Now, one person that impacted me in a very dramatic professional way was Bruce Hammett. Bruce was the senior lender at Cape Cod 5. And when I moved here, after I had my son, and I would have to say he's the most influential person in my life, I had the choice of where to work. And the community commitment of Cape Cod 5 really made me feel that this was an organization that I wanted to join. I'd spent the first 15 years of my career working in economic development, trying to help city-states across the country address the idea of creating small business and jobs and helping people, and had always either worked for nonprofits or the government. This, except for a short stint at a bank. Bruce brought me on and was an incredible mentor to me. And one of the things that I discovered working in the traditional banking industry is that there was a lot of lack of parity when it came to women. And that was beginning to bother me. What Bruce helped me do was turn that aggravation with that into energy. And so I embarked on a path to help our institution and institutions around the country understand that they could actually be more successful if they embraced diversity and inclusion, and made it a little bit of a life's mission for myself. So that in itself was a huge turning point. He also allowed me, when I said I didn't want to lend anymore, I want to do something different, to take on a new position where I could write my own job description. And
Nice.
so I did strategic planning, and ultimately launched our trust department, which is now over $1 billion in assets, which was a huge risk, and he stood behind me in doing that. So I will always be grateful to him for the kindness and the mentoring and the patience that he had with me. He made an enormous difference in my life.
That's great. What about key events in your life? I mean, you touched on some of them, having your son, obviously.
The biggest one. Yeah.
So what about some other things that come to mind that really kind of, shaped you as a leader? It could be a negative event, it could be a positive event, but anything come to mind?
I guess when I thought about that, I thought about all of those times when you reached a fork in the road. So I always assumed I would get a PhD in psychology and be a therapist, because that's how I would help people. Just through a series of events, I worked in a town where it was in great need of economic development and went to work for the town. And I saw that I had a chance to affect even more people by helping teach a man to fish. In other words, to provide jobs and opportunity. And that started me on that whole path. I then had an opportunity to, and the environment has always been very important to me, to either be the state director of the Nature Conservancy or to work on a national level in economic development.
Yeah.
And I chose, again, to work on a national level. So all of these key moments in your life, the choice to come to Cape Cod 5, being asked to chair the Massachusetts Bankers Association, being asked to put my hat in the ring for the American Bankers Association, all of which led to the most remarkable learning experiences and growth experiences. And I know you can't go back and say, oh, I should have done X or Y, because nothing would lead to where you are. And I feel like all of these twists and turns have given me the skills that have actually supported me in my current position. My predecessor always said, I have the best job on Cape Cod. And I say, I have the best job on Cape Cod and the islands and southeastern Massachusetts. And I'm so privileged to have it. And it was all of those moments that got me here.
Yeah, that's great. What a wonderful story. And you are a classic servant leader, and we love to hear stories like that.
Thank you.
So thank you for being on the show. And thank you for sharing so much about Cape Cod 5. We really learned a lot. It sounds like a wonderful culture. And I can see it's led by a wonderful leader. So
too
keep up the
kind.
good work.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. And thanks for everything your organization does.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
This is Mark Forsyth with Leading at a Higher Level Nantucket, and we'll see you next week.